I'm not going to say welcome this time because I'm so happy you're here. Like, I don't know how else to greet people on this. It's kind of weird. It's like you want to say welcome because you're like inviting to having people come to the space that you've created to learn something. So I think welcome is appropriate. I guess I just have to sort of evolve through this and learn about other ways to say hello when people come to a podcast. I don't know. That's the funniest thing ever, especially for sitting in my position. I'm excited. Today is a wonderful day. It's the supermoon. So I'm going to put this up today too. So if you're hearing this today, please go outside and enjoy that supermoon and break away from the confines of your home. That rooftop certainly blocks out so much beauty in the world that we don't really look up anymore or look out. It's quite incredible. It's so beautiful what's going on in the world if we just take a minute to view it. So check that. It's the last one of the year. It's a lot of energy going on, and it's room to clear things out of you if you feel the need to do that, because let's be real. I mean, if you're here, you're taking steps into a whole new realm of life, which is incredible. I mean, I'm proud of you for that. I'm proud of you for that. Seriously. And I really hope you're proud of yourself, because the things that we're talking about and we're doing, and I will talk about and continue, like all of the things that this podcast is, it will take you to a place of pure love for yourself, not really through the emotion, but rather understanding. And once you obtain the understanding of love and you have self-love through understanding, everything changes. You're free because you will live life on your own terms, and no more will ideas be planted in your mind because you will live from a place of understanding and love. It's very real. I'm proof of it, I'm proof of the things that I practice work for the betterment of your life. And that's something I want everyone to know that's listening. Everything that I talk about, I practice immensely. It's become second nature to me, which is why I'm able to talk about it. I wouldn't talk about it if I was still in the learning and understanding phase of things. In order to be able to talk about something, you have to understand it. So that's why I'm able to share this kind of information with you. But yeah, I'm not special. Like, I'm not unique, man. You heard my story. You're hearing my story, and there's lots more to it. But this story is beautiful because it just shows, like, it doesn't matter what holds you back. You can free yourself from anything, because the story is the greatest part of your life, because it's the thing that taught you all the difficult lessons to arrive at that place of love. Because let's be real, the things that we're talking about is having a lack of love for yourself. Everything centralizes around the ego being damaged. Shame, guilt, regret, all these things are just products of ego. Ego is the mainframe of everything. That's what tells us we're better or we're not good enough. So all these emotions centralize from ego. And we're going to talk about that. That's where we're looking to this healing through these emotional traumas is to alleviate this learned behavior with how we view ego. Either we're not good enough, like we don't fit in with everyone, or we're better. So we need to observe that. And that's what we're doing. That's what this is all about. It teaches you to observe things in a different manner so that you can free yourself from them, because the emotion has you tied up in this place that won't allow you to see anything from anywhere else, because all you've been taught is how to feel or not, you know what I mean? To distract from the feeling. So when we discuss emotional traumas, it's not really an easy thing to talk about, because we've attached to the emotion so deeply, and it becomes very difficult to see anything from another way. But if you're tired of being in the same place and not loving yourself, then this stuff's for you. And many, many, many people are at that point. I know this. I'm out in the world. I talk to people. I talk like this to everybody. And once you break through that programming and you're ready to have some real talk, yeah, you can see people miss loving themselves. They miss love as an understanding. So that's what I'm going to teach you here. And be proud of yourself every single time you log into some of these episodes. If you need to re-listen to an episode, be proud of yourself. Like, do this for you. I'm just here offering information. This just gives me a platform to do it, which I think is fantastic, because this kind of stuff has serious power to it. Self-love and self-care is freedom. It's purpose. It's inner peace. You won't be buying things anymore that you don't need. That's the truth. A lot of the things that we do in life, we're trying to fulfill an emotion from an internal perspective, but we're looking to an external source to fix the internal. Many people, this is with, they buy these Gucci clothes or Lamborghinis, or, they have 10 houses. It's just to fill the need. It's to fill a void, right? Like, I mean, why would you do that? Why do they do that? They still haven't found the thing they're looking for because they're still consuming. Once you go through these processes and you heal the inner child, and you understand and embrace and accept love into your core being and become love, the idea of materialism and consumerism goes away almost immediately, because you understand that there's something so much more than that. And the idea of money becomes no more than a tool for basic needs and for spiritual growth. People that need to accumulate mass amounts of money, they're missing something else on the inside, because obtain the love, the idea of money sort of goes away. These are concepts that will come over your periods of growth, but this is what you're in for. It's beautiful. Like, there's no more boredom. Like, your time spent with yourself is spent on personal growth. And that's a beautiful place to be, man. Like, real applications of self-love and self-care, and creating boundaries that aren't selfish, that are acceptable for you, for your personal growth, for you to build the love back up in yourself so you can give it authentically to other people. That's what we're doing here. These are the things that I talk about. You don't need to buy anything, and it might not happen in 30 days. But you keep practicing. Anything you practice, you get good at. During your practice, become honest and authentic in everything you do. And that's how you get there quicker. Don't make excuses for things. The only thing that holds us back is us. So we have to remember that. We can't play the victim or lay blame. We have to have accountability. And that's what this episode's about. This episode's about accountability and responsibility. We have to be accountable for the choices that we make in our life. If we choose not to give ourselves practical self-love and self-care outside of an external application, I mean from an internal understanding, then that's on us. If we're tired and burnt out because we're not setting boundaries to give ourselves time, that's on us. You've got to be accountable for that. If the husband or the wife doesn't understand those boundaries, you've got to have some difficult conversations. And that's a reality. I know that many people are in relationships and they're doing this work on their own, but it may not be received on the other end. And that's okay, because the present moment is all that matters. And your personal growth is the only thing that matters. And I want you to remember that. It's very important to give yourself time and set boundaries. No matter what point you've come to in your life, you're in the present moment. So if you're looking for a better life from an inner perspective, then take the time. Set boundaries, have difficult conversations, lead by example. You can change things in your life. I can promise you that. All you got to do is change the internal. Observe the internal. Come to an understanding with it. Being accountable and responsible for the journey that has had us arrive to this destination is paramount in your growth, because playing the victim or laying blame just doesn't serve no purpose here. It's like shame, regret, guilt, all these other emotions that are very dense. Those emotions are dense. They consider it as energy, right? Because that's what it is. An emotion comes in various forms of energy. You hear people say high vibrational frequencies, or people are vibing out. That's because they're in a lighter state. Their vibrational frequencies move a lot higher and more frequently because of the state of consciousness that they're in. When you centralize love inside of your body because you practice self-love, self-care through understanding your own self, through honesty and authenticity, the vibrational frequency within you will raise. And it's not some kind of magic or like, thing that you can't obtain. This is real. This is very real. But people that are stuck within regret, shame, guilt, misunderstanding, not being able to observe the lessons within the emotional traumas holds you down like a bag of rocks. Consider that. Consider putting shame, regret, guilt, jealousy, all this stuff. Put it all in a backpack and consider it rocks. How long are you able to carry that bag of rocks around before it breaks you down? Now, you're not taking the bag of rocks off, but you're continuing to move through life. So if we look at that from an observation, metaphorically, like you're not moving anywhere. You're not moving anywhere. You're just dragging through life. And that's a reality. And a lot of people store this in their back. These dense energies and these dense emotions, they come through in forms of physical ailment, because that's what it is. The body is made up of energy as well, right? And we store this in our back. That's the first place that we see it. You see a lot of people hunched over, going through life. That's because they're carrying a lot of weight on their back. It's just a way to observe the world. And these individuals need empathy and sympathy, but you must build this up for yourself first. Observe yourself, help yourself before you can help anyone else. So that's what this is here. These beginning steps of everything that we're talking about, this is for you. This is all for you, because I want you to grow through the very things that hold you back. And let's be real, the very things that hold us back is dense energy through emotions centralized around an ego. The ego has been damaged, either to say that they're not good enough or they're better. That's what this is. And why is the ego damaged? Because there's no love. There's a lack of love for the individual. When it comes to being accountable and responsible, along my journey, I lost my children. I had 2 relationships, 7 years each, 3 months apart from each other. I have 2 children with one girl, and I have another child with another girl. I was a drug addict throughout both relationships. It made things with them very difficult. They were good girls, but it made things with them very difficult because I was struggling to pretend to love myself. And I wanted to blame everyone else for that. I didn't want to be accountable for anything because in my mind, my addiction was manageable because I was a high functioning addict. A high functioning addict means somebody who can go to work every day, someone who can get up in the morning and the drugs move you. So it doesn't really hold you back. The drugs sort of push you forward. It's probably the worst form of addiction because you're constantly lying to everyone else because you're constantly lying to yourself that everything's okay, or you just need to keep going, keep going, keep going. Well, like anything, you can only go so far before you come down. And that happened to me. This is a very difficult one for me because I was a really good dad. I was a really good father. I was a drug addict. But I knew what it meant to be a father. It was just a part of me. It was something that I just knew. I was good at it. Because I'm a big kid myself, even though I was a drug addict and I was angry with myself and sometimes angry at other human beings, the children were exempt from that because they were pure love and they were light and they came from me. So that was really incredible to experience that and to be a part of that and to be in their lives. I did the bottle feedings and diaper changes at night, every night. That was on me. That was my thing. I wanted to be involved heavily and I wanted to be a part of that. And it was the greatest thing that I ever did because I created a bond with little humans for being there for them at night because I wasn't always there for them, when they needed me because the drugs needed me too. And I couldn't separate the two. And I put the first relationship through 7 years. My daughter was 5. When we split, my son was 1. I spent 1 year with my son. And then we split and things got very nasty in divorce court. And I didn't have the children, and I didn't get them because I was still using drugs. And that's the truth. But I can tell you I was angry with that process, because why couldn't I have my children? Why couldn't I see my children? I was a good father, but I was lying. And I was lying to myself because I couldn't be accountable and responsible for the things that I did. And that was tough, because it threw me very deep into the addiction, because they took love away from me. The kids were pure love. I mean, they were a piece of me that was exempt from the addiction in my mind, but my heart knew that it wasn't my time for them. That's something I struggled with for a long time, to accept the accountability and responsibility of my part in all of that. I wanted to blame her for everything. It takes two, I can tell you that for sure. There was a role that we both played in the destruction of everything, absolutely. But who am I to blame her for what I did? You know? The only ones that lose were the children, because now they're set up for a difficult life through difficult lessons, because dad had things going on that he couldn't be accountable for, you know? Now, I've since remedied this, as you can see, and you're here and you know. And my time with them is coming, because I practice a different way of life these days. But again, even moving forward, I could right now be going to court and be involved in their life right now as we speak, but I choose not to. And I'll tell you why. Because I don't want to be that dad that's there periodically throughout the month. They don't live in the same province as me. So until I can grow to a place where I can be in their lives when they need me and on a daily basis, then I can't have that right now. Because it's not fair to me and it's not fair to them to put that on us, to create these separation anxiety again. I need to heal this properly when we get to that time, and that's takes a lot of respect and a lot of courage to do that, because I miss them so much. I think about them every single day. You know, you finally overcome all of these things that you've held you back in life, and here you've got this opportunity to get love back in your life, and you just know it's not the right time, because you have to be responsible. And that's an act of responsibility right there. My little guy with the other girl, the second relationship, is 6. He left when he was 3. I did the same thing twice in 2 relationships, because I thought I could trick myself into thinking that everything was okay. I could trick myself into loving myself, or this individual was going to love me. I didn't have to be accountable or responsible for anything, because she was going to do it for me. We make this choice in life quite regularly, having somebody try to teach us something internally, externally. I wanted someone else to teach me how to love myself, because I couldn't do it on my own. I refused to figure that out or even address it in this manner. So I got in relationships where they would teach me about it. But you know what? They didn't know how to do it either. And they didn't have it. And I knew in the beginning of both of those relationships that I didn't love them, because I didn't love myself. It's not easy for me to say that. I mean, they're not bad people. They're good people, but let's be real. What's the point of pretending and lying about it? That's what got me to the place that took me to the places it did, with all these difficult lessons and all the difficult choices and all the consequences that came from that. If I would have just been real with myself in those beginning moments when I knew all those red flags in the relationship that I was turning green were really red, none of this would have happened. But I'm grateful for all of it, because it brought me to this place of understanding, and I have 3 beautiful children. My kids are super cool. They're incredibly cool. And I'm really proud of them for having strength and courage to go through the difficulties that I left for them. You know, that's a reality. Divorce is not easy. Separating from kids is not easy. Addiction is not easy. Not loving yourself is not easy. Being accountable and responsible for all these choices and decisions is very difficult. But I can tell you, only if you make it difficult. You breathe easy once you become accountable for what you've done, and you find your place in everything. It changes the way you feel and the way you look at things, because there's no longer any blame or victim mentality. There's no time for that with this. There just isn't. Because blame and victim mentality comes with all that dense energy, and it just holds you back because you're holding on to that regret, shame, guilt, jealousy, whatever it may be. Keeps you in one place. You got to free yourself from that. Become accountable, find your role in whatever the emotional trauma you went through was. Maybe it just wasn't speaking your truth, because I could tell you that not speaking your truth is the foundation for all of this. That's why we stay stale. We don't speak our truths to ourselves, to others, and that's what kind of holds us back. For whatever the emotional trauma is, it centralizes around communication. I've learned that in the beginning of all this. I mean, with my emotional traumas, I didn't communicate feelings. I didn't communicate an understanding of love. I didn't communicate that I needed that. I knew it, but I was very young, and I didn't say anything. That's on me. All the choices and everything that I did in life, that's on me. I don't blame nobody for that. I wanted to, and I did for years, but it got me nowhere. And that's the real beautiful thing about my story, is that I'm able to share with you. It doesn't matter what holds you back in life, because you can set yourself free from anything. It doesn't matter the emotional trauma, because what we're alleviating ourselves is from the emotional repetitive cycle. And we're observing it in a different manner. And that's what honesty and authenticity gives us. And that's what accountability and responsibility gives us. It shows us a different way of looking at the things that hold us back. It's a way to dissect it and observe it and get to the root of it and find the lesson inside of it, because the lesson is what frees you from it. For me, the two relationships that I was in, with having the children with people that I didn't love, the lesson there was to love myself and understand myself before I ever got into a relationship again, because I will never make that mistake again. Because the result of the children are the difficult lessons that I learned. But I learned. I can't hold on to the emotional attachment of that with them. It will get me nowhere. And I can tell you, for 10 years, I did hold on to that. And it got me nowhere. So I know what it means to stay stuck in an emotional repetitive cycle. I know what that means, and I know where it gets you. But when I detached from that and I told myself, I'm going to live in the present moment, and I'm going to be somebody different, and I'm going to follow my heart, and I'm going to love myself so I can lead by example to show my children that, yeah, Dad made difficult choices in his life. He struggled with emotional traumas. But you know what? I processed them, and look at the place it brought me to today. And I'm able to be here with you in the moment and share this with you because of the things that I went through to get here. Now, there's something to be said for that education, because that's something you can't learn in school. That's real. That's very real, and it's priceless. Honesty, authenticity as an education, being able to teach that, that's our role as parents and human beings. You don't have to have kids to teach that to other people. You step out in the world and you become honest and authentic, centralized around love, with kindness, having the understanding, with accountability and responsibility. Let me tell you something. That's a real human, someone who can do that. And there's no judgment, there's no division, there is no embellished ego, because the ego's been nurtured back with love. So it understands that human beings are part of the human race. We're family. That's what we're talking about here. That's the alleviation of all these emotions and finding the lessons inside of them can do for you. And if you're listening to this, I want you to apply this to your own situation. Somewhere in your life, there was a lack of love. Find that place. Find out where it all began. Usually it begins in your childhood. But if you can go back to that place and you can accept what happened, become honest and authentic with the discovery of the emotional trauma, be accountable and responsible for your role in it, and detach from the emotion to find the lesson, you're going to grow. You're going to grow. Look at yourself in the morning. Accept love into your heart and look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you and I'm proud of you. Take that time for yourself. Look yourself in the eye. Man, I do it in the morning and I practice this way of life. And it's a beautiful thing, you know? I can also appreciate how it's difficult, the difficulty in looking at ourselves, because you look into your soul. Like it's your soul looking into your soul. And there's like, even as I say it, I feel like getting emotional because there's a lot that has happened on our journey that we go, man, there's a lot of things I would have liked to have done differently. People say that all the time. But it's when we can look into our eyes and go, you know what? We're going to heal today. We're going to heal from all that we would like to change, and we're going to accept it. We're going to accept it as being our greatest asset because you know what? All that stuff that we want to change, it wouldn't have brought us to this present moment where we love ourselves today. And you honestly and authentically, you look at yourself. I don't care if tears stream down your cheeks when you do it, but you look at yourself and you remember that spirit inside of you. Remember that power you carry. Because it's very real. And it's love. Everything that I speak of is about love and as an understanding. But that spirit inside of you knows it because it comes from there. The world puts a lot of dense energies on you. And that's okay. To appreciate and to accept that. It's okay. You know, a lot of learned behaviors happened up to this point. A lot of difficult choices we made, which gave us a lot of consequences. And that's okay. Because they're all lessons and experiences. Don't hold on to the emotion. Detach from that right quick. It'll keep you stale. It'll keep you in one place. You know what I'm saying? Just become accountable and responsible for your role and what happened. And it's cool. And be cool with it. You know, remember, it brought you to this present moment. And I don't care how old you are, because in this present moment, if you look yourself in the eyes and you say, I'm going to love you, take time for you, things are going to change in your life. They're going to change, and everyone around you is going to feel it and see it because you're going to be it. You're not going to talk about it. You're going to be it. And that's a big, big thing when you become love. 2.5 years ago, I got out of prison. They gave me clothes to get out of prison, you know? And I moved through all of it so quickly because I had to. It kept me in the same place for 23 years. The addiction just became a form of distraction. Many of us do this in other ways. We know about this. We talk about this. Television, shopping, pornography, high sugar, high fats. We attach to these foods because they try and make us feel something. That's why we do it. Even if you're not consciously doing it, that's why you do it. You eat a whole bunch of food, you feel super heavy and dense. It's because you're trying to feel something. The world is designed to have you feel something from an external perspective because we don't communicate about emotions, certainly to anyone else, rather ourselves. The things I talk about, you're going to do this on your own, for you. And when you get there to this place that you're ready to open up boxes that you've been sitting on and buried for years, you're going to process some things. And you're going to move through some things because you're going to learn from them. You're going to let go of that attachment to the emotion because you're going to practice it in your mind. And once you accept what you have gone through, you will learn from it and you will leave it there because it doesn't serve you any purpose in the present moment to hold on to an attachment of an emotion from something from the past, right? I mean, I think we can all agree with that, right? Accountability and responsibility is a big thing. The only thing I would say to the girls that I was with is I'm sorry you didn't leave sooner. Yeah. I'm sorry that I lied to you and tried to make you think everything was going to be better. I can't talk to them, actually. there's court orders and things like this where we're not allowed to talk to each other. But I'll put it out there in the world right now on this episode that I got nothing but love for them, and I appreciate them for stepping up when I step down to take care of those kids. I send mad love in the universe every single day, but I don't think I've ever said that to them. And they deserve to know that because I put them through hell. You know, it's not easy living with an addict. I can promise you that, especially one that has an appetite for destruction like I did. I had a hole I needed to fill, and it was deep. It was dark, and I wanted to manage a family life at the same time, and I couldn't do it. But I wanted to trick myself and trick everyone else to thinking that I could. And the emotional damage that's caused by that, the psychological behaviors and patterns that are created from the result of that are not cool. They're quite damaging. And I only can imagine the emotional damage that I have placed inside of those two individuals. And I'm sorry for that. Because I can be accountable today for that. I'm really sorry for that. I'm just putting this out into the world. But it's real talk for an unreal world, so I'm not going to play. And it's just part of like the journey, right? Understanding that and loving through everything. That's what love is. It's forgiveness. It's communication. It's respect. It's trust. It's unity. That's what we're doing here. We're learning how to understand this. And no matter what happened to us in our lives, we'll be able to forgive the individual and love them. I know that sounds crazy, but it isn't. When you become love and you obtain love, it isn't at all. So I appreciate you two girls for that. I've never said that. And yeah, thanks for that. Cool. So accountability, responsibility. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's a very beautiful thing. Which is a great place to end, because next week we're going to talk about forgiveness. And that's a perfect place to be for us to end with that, because forgiveness is everything. I'm going to teach you how that is going to help you grow through everything and anything. And as you can see with that last comment that I made to those girls right there, I forgive them for everything. Everything that happened with us, I forgive them. Because you know why? Because I forgave myself. So it's going to be a great place for us to pick up next week, because we struggle with that immensely. Again, like, man, I love you guys, straight up. But I really mean that. You know, like, I really mean that. I know it's a podcast and you're just hearing the vibrations from my voice, but for real, I'm proud of you. If you're listening to this and you're trying to take things from it to help yourself grow, man, thank you. Because you're trying to raise your vibrational frequency that is part of a collective consciousness, and that collective consciousness is made up of love. Just many of us have forgotten that, and we've attached to fear, anxiety, and stress. But if you're working through this stuff, and you're willing to not be selfish, and you're willing to move through the things that hold you back so that you can love yourself again and allow love to come into your life as an understanding, so you're able to share that with other people, I appreciate you so much. Thank you for taking the courage to do that, and the bravery that is required at looking at things that have weighed us down for quite some time. Thank you for being brave for doing that, because this isn't easy. I know that, but it's only not easy because we don't know how to get out of it. And that's what I'm going to try and do. I'm going to try and teach you how this can be easy for you. So I really respect you for that, and I really appreciate you for that. Please, at the end of the podcast, appreciate yourself, respect yourself, and tell yourself you're proud of yourself. There is so much in that. If you can just take a few minutes and do that, a couple seconds, just be real with yourself, shut the outside world out for a minute, and take a moment for that space. Put love in your heart. The results of that are incredible. Social media, Real Talk for an Unreal World is the Facebook page, the YouTube channel, and the Instagram. Real Talk, the number 4 Unreal is the Twitter. And Real Talk for an Unreal World at gmail.com. You can email me with any questions or concerns or anything that you feel like is holding you back and you want to grow through, hit me up. And I work with people on the daily, and it don't cost nobody nothing because love is free. So I give you my time. If you got something going on, you need to talk about it, please hit me up. I really appreciate it. Shout out to Ryder Mead. Ryder Mead is the guy who made the opener for the podcast. He is an individual that I worked with and I met along my journey, and our paths aligned. And throughout my addiction, Ryder was a real dude, and he checked on me periodically just as a friend, or maybe he was trying to see the level of destruction that I was at. Either way, the phone calls were always nice, and the fact that he created this for me just out of the goodness of his heart, I wanted to recognize that and say that I appreciate you, and I appreciate that. It's a wonderful thing to do for people, step up for people, so thank you. Much love, everybody. Have a wonderful week. I'll check you next week.